Hello and welcome to another episode of Table for Four, which this series is under the Combos and Chill brand, and it's me and a bunch of my friends that we're gonna be talking about a main topic, which the topic of this episode is growth mindset and all the struggles on a daily basis and how to counter them and be productive with it. And today I'm joined with two of my closest friends ever. One of them is Ashkan, and one of them is Hamza Hassan. Both of them are they're staying in Canada. So this session is kind of like a time difference and everything. So we're gonna be talking about the like our life experiences and all the pros and the cons that we had and what we've learned and what like we just want to share our side of the whole journey and just want to talk about the whole thing in a broader perspective. So thank you guys for joining in. Whoever is watching, thank you very much for joining in, and please do share this video with your friends. Let them know about the page. And my name is Ahmed. If you guys don't know me, I'm the host of Combos and Chill, and this is the series called Table for Four. This is the second episode that I'm doing, and it's one-off sessions every month. So, without any further ado, Hamza and Ashkan, welcome to the show, guys. How's everything with you?
Hello, great to connect. Great to see you. Very good to see you, Ashkan.
Yeah, you guys good, man?
Fabulous. Definitely a blessing catching up with you, and obviously Hamza. For the record, guys, I only met Hamza for the first time. So just
Mm-hmm.
catching up with all since we have some good stuff coming up.
Um,
That.
yeah, man. So you know what? I did like a very very tiny introduction about you guys. So you guys go ahead. I mean, take turns and explain. Just introduce yourself for the audience.
Hamza, you wanna go first, or should I take the?
Sure, I can go first. Hi everyone, my name is Hamza Hassan, and I'm been friends with Ahmed for quite some time. I'm originally from Pakistan, grew up in Dubai for most of my life, and have been based in Canada for the past 8 years as well. Uh, Met Dirty through the music scene back in the past, and a bit about me. I've gone through a lot of different challenges in my life, and that's brought me here. I'm currently a technical recruiter, so I help a lot of people and a career coach, and I help people navigate through the job market, helping them through the challenges and the rejection and how to face that as well. And I just wanted to share my insights from the field and on career and purpose and why it's so important to foster a growth mindset, because that's been the biggest lesson in my life. Because I've gone through those phases when I was younger, going through victim stage, and I used to be very anxious and very angry and went through all these kind of challenges, a lot of setbacks. But I realized once I got to shift my mindset, everything else changed. So it's about embracing through those, embracing the setbacks, the challenges in life, and shifting our perspective towards um, towards a more open-minded growth mindset that can change our reality.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big in a nutshell. And yeah,
And
very much so.
and Ashkan, you tell the audience a bit about yourself, man.
Yeah, for sure. I don't even know where to start, but I'm just gonna retract what basically Hamza started. Um, Starting with how I met you, Ahmed. I mean, we go back way before we met in Dubai.
Yeah.
So, my background is coding. I spent the rest of my life in Dubai. Basically, I remember Dubai as being the home, like childhood and everything. That's
By the
that's
way,
that's the
guys.
kind of
By the way,
associations
guys.
I have.
Guys. There was again some technical issues. Your mics were all off. It was muted. My bad. So you know what? You guys again, do it again, man. Just introduce yourself a bit. Man, this is some technical issues with this long distance stuff, man. It's just
No
crazy.
That's
problem.
okay. That's
So
okay. We can start again.
yeah, you can start talking again and just like give a tiny introduction about yourself. Then we can kick it in.
Give me one
So
second, Amadou. Let me get
so
some. Okay.
Hamza, just you talk about it and just introduce yourself
Sure.
again, because
No problem.
I thought that the mics are working. Sorry, my bad, guys. And by
Yeah.
the way, okay,
So,
before you start, the thing is like there was a lot of last minute changes for this session because we had a third person as well, but due to some family some family stuff, our friend couldn't make it, Jamal J. So yeah, I completely forgot to mention that as well. So he couldn't make it, so that's why it was a very last minute change to do the all the background and changing the design and everything. So thank you very much, guys, for coping up with this stuff. So yeah, Hamza, sorry I cut you off. So please introduce yourself, bro.
sure, no problem. So, hi everyone. My name is Hamza, and I've been good friends with Ahmed for quite some time. I grew up in Dubai, and I was there for 13 years before I moved to Canada about 8 years ago. And a bit about me: I'm originally from Pakistan, and I moved to Canada about 8 years ago to start my life from scratch. It was like a reset, showed me a lot about myself, and now I've evolved into a career coach and a technical recruiter. So I help tons of candidates and employers to connect them, help people with finding their purpose and really guiding them in the right direction in their careers and in life as well. And one of the biggest lessons I've learned through my journey, through facing a lot of rejection since I was really young, as I was very obese, very angry, very emotional, and realized that it wasn't working out for me at certain stages of my life. So I realized through that the importance of changing our mindset can change our whole reality. And
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the main areas of interest for me, as I was in a victim mindset for most of my life. But once we shift in this kind of perspective, it can really shape our lives for the better. So that's why I'm excited about sharing about this journey today with you guys.
So man, thank you very much, Hamza, for that introduction again. So Ashkan, you go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience.
Oh man. Yeah, just I don't know if the first part of my conversation was recorded last time, but Ahmed, obviously thanks for having us again, and it would have been even a better blessing if we had Jamal J on board. You, myself, and Jamal, we go way back to long aisles down the Dubai roads. Like
Yeah, man.
I it's funny how we all met, and how after all these years having such different life paths and life events, and we still managed to keep some of those conversations and dialogues open, even though like circumstances in life change, and it gets very difficult to kind of maintain some of those relationships. But I'm definitely glad to be here. I'm blessed to be on this show, and definitely having a good pleasure of meeting Hamza as of yesterday. But for me, like Hamza said it, there's been a lot of ups and downs, or for lack of a better word, different states or stages of life that I've been through. My parents are Persian from Iran, and I was basically a toddler when we moved to Dubai, and then my parents were the immigrant parents to Dubai, and then we moved to Dubai. I spent a good chunk of my years there, which shaped my behavior, mentality, and mindset, and my values. And then it was about time after high school, I think, when I moved out of Dubai and I came to Canada, I think in 2012. And again, another different stages of life. And I've been blessed to be exposed to these different environments and kind of transition through, and like Hamza said it, like when you're in different environments, you get consumed by the different energies around you. You get bullied, you always trying to be outlied, or you always have this urge of fitting in. And I, as a person, experienced this on so many levels. Being bullied to being the bully himself. It's different environments, like I said, and I've experienced it. And and it does really matter, when you have that mindset, when you go through those different stages, it can either make you or break you at times. And today, these days, like, we are in some of the most unprecedented times during this pandemic, and it's tough. Like, it doesn't have to be a bully in school, it doesn't have to be a whole boss at work. It could be just sitting at home and like not being able to socialize, and that can take a toll on your brain and mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And just to wrap it up, yeah, so we are here, and I mean, I would love living this show with the idea of there are people like Ashkan, Hamza, or you yourself, Ahmed, who are very ordinary people, and they're from very different stages of life, and a lot of people can relate to what they say. It's nothing great, and it's nothing secret. It's been there, everyone says it, but I think the practicality becomes an issue. So hopefully today Hamza and I can get some of these like practicality to your audiences through your podcast. It
Yeah,
would be
man.
great.
That's great, man. I just want to give a shout out to the guys. Hamza Yasiri is in the house. Adnan is in the house. Ashish Shitty is in the house. What's up, guys? Thank you very much for tuning in. And if you guys are still watching, if you guys have any questions or anything about the stuff that we're going to be talking, we're going to be shedding light on the growth mindset and how you can actually be productive in life with whatever mistakes you did, or anything related to the whole changing your mindset. So please feel free to just comment your question, and I'm sure the guys are more than happy to answer it. So guys, about the whole growth mindset topic. So last night we had a long conversation about it, and that by itself could have been an episode. So
Yeah.
Totally.
so who wants to go first? Because as I know that two of you are on the same page about this whole topic, but there's a lot of sides of this topic, as in it's not only one fundamental factor that you need to look at, or two. So so who wants to start to shed a bit of light and start introducing this whole growth mindset and the way that it works?
I would like Hamza to go first. I'll put him up as a candidate. No, I have a good reason for that. Just because yesterday, I obviously Hamza is a lot more well versed, and I can fill in really well with Hamza. So like, that's my choice, man. But every man for his own.
No, totally. That's fine by me. So I don't know how we came across this topic and it's there, but it's so great to see that, Ashkan, we have a very similar journey. I also moved in
Absolutely.
2012 to Canada to start my
Oh,
life in a new environment. And Dubai, growing up in Dubai was never easy for me. Having difficulty in school, having learning disabilities, ADHD, but never diagnosed with it. So, just never really had that support from the teachers, and in school it was very difficult as well, and it kind of put me in this downward spiral in my life, and I would just keep feeding into that negativity, and but music was my savior, and that's how I met Ahmed as well, through the
Yeah.
music scene in Dubai. That was the only thing
great.
that kept me grounded, but a lot of the times I was going through my own pains, most of my teenage years and early 20s, as I was going through unhealthiness. I was gaming all the time. I was like, what is the meaning of life? And not really, what's the point of everything, And I was in such a dark state, where, I would always just just very pessimistic about everything. And the defining moment for me, was in 2011, when I hit rock bottom, as my grandfather's wish was to, when he passes, that the eldest grandson, myself, to put him in his final resting place in the grave. And we don't have caskets or anything. So the emotion that I was going through, like, I have to do this, but this is something that it's quite deep, and but I still did it for the honor, because this is my grandfather and it was last wish. So I made that happen, and I went 6 feet under, took his body and laid him there. And as I laid him there, all these kind of emotions and energies and things made me re-question everything and how I was living my life. Because this is life continuation. I am continuing his life through me, as I am his eldest grandson, and I am the one who has to live my life to the fullest because that's what he brought me in. So that made me re-question it all, and that's when I start, slowly start coming out of that downward spiral I was in. I wouldn't say I had all the answers or anything like that, but it made me rethink that I need to shift my perspective because the life I was living before this, wasn't going anywhere. And I realized through death, I found the motivation. Death is the best motivator once you know that we're all human and we all pass one day. So that just made me rethink that I need to really shift that perspective and really start taking care of my life. And that's when I got really curious. I started using my ADHD as a form of curiosity, so I can keep learning new ways, new ideas. And a bit about my background: my parents actually are life coaches, motivational speakers, corporate trainers as a husband-wife team.
Amazing,
so I was always
man.
born in that inspirational environment.
Yeah.
It's amazing,
But
man. It's amazing.
but I wasn't receptive to it for most of my younger years till later on. So I remember going through my father's bookshelf where he had all these different books from Tony Robbins, Robin Sharma to, all the different Stephen Covey. And I just started reading, I started reading Richard Branson's biography.
I feel
to other
everyone in
ones.
our generation started with those three people that you just mentioned. Like
Yeah.
a lot of us, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
that's
early
interesting.
pioneers. The early
Yes.
pioneers, and that's why. And I really got interested in human behavior and realized our internal behavior and external behavior. So understanding body language and other areas. And that's what kind of brought me start getting curious. And I remember that same year, I went to Lebanon and I went to the Khadisha Valley, which is known as the Valley of Kings, which is Khalil Gibran's birthplace.
Oh, nice, nice.
And that's when I was exposed to Khalil Gibran for the first time. And reading his poetry, going through his museum and everything just really inspired me to relook at my life again and re-question. And I remember I was sitting inside in my hotel room in the balcony, and I had this book that I was about to start, and it was called A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. And the first episode was on the flowering of consciousness. And I remember just reading that first chapter was like a flowering of my own consciousness that was just dormant, lying inside of me. So
they said everyone has the seed in them, right?
Yeah.
So,
everyone has that.
So what is the thing? Is it like an enlightenment thingy that it comes to you through like someone? As you said, death was that. That was the first thing that made you realize this thing. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So
No,
what
it's a
is
very
it?
powerful concept.
So what is it? Is it that we are getting triggered like subconsciously, or is something that you come to realization as in like what am I doing with my life situation type of thing? What is it? Like what was that ignition point for you? Okay, as you said, you I mean God bless his soul, you guys put him to rest, and what was going through your mind that specific like in that time, that exact moment?
Great question. And it made me realize the mortality of us, that we are all mortal beings and we only have this small little moment in our life. There's no past or future. It's just one moment. It's now. That's it. And you're born and you die. It's one big moment. And made me realize that, I only have this much time in my life. Do I just want to waste it by just not really living it to its full potential? So I was seeing that moment that my grandfather wanted the best for me to be successful, be good at, and be happy. And I just felt like I wasn't living that at that moment. So when I was there, my body was fully vibrating when I was in that moment. And it just gave me this kind of pure humility towards it that, death humbles everyone. Everyone dies at one stage of their life. But that made me feel like, what if I keep living the life I have been for the rest of my life? And that was a waking point for me, that made me realize that if I keep doing this and I'm just going, would that the life I want to live? Would I would like to be known for? So that just kind of really shifted something inside of me to really open myself up. And of course, it was still a very rock bottom moment for me. And it was really tough. But I realized it also opened up my relationship with my father even more. And our relationship became stronger because we never had that strong relationship growing up. But this just really put us together as well.
And
Uh,
we have, sorry to cut you off, we have the first question ever. I mean, it's not a question, someone sharing his idea. His name is Gomez Andre. Sorry if I'm butchering your name, Gomez Andres. He's saying, I have problems controlling my ADHD at work, especially when my boss is yelling at me. What should I do?
Good question, Gomez. So,
By the way,
Andre,
Hamza is like his family. They're like, life coaches, and I didn't know that this guy is himself is like a recruiter and like a coach himself as well. Like such a blessing, bro. Just yeah, I just wanted to say this.
thank you so much. So I would say if you have ADHD at work and you're going through a lot of that, it's important to first train your attention, train your own focus, your own awareness. And what I've learned that's really helped me is to go through a meditative practice or a reflection practice, which puts me at that calm and composed state that's there. If a boss is there, we cannot choose our bosses, but we can change how we perceive what they're saying. You don't know what the other boss might be going through. They could be going through some of life's challenges, and that's probably just projecting out from them. So don't take things personally from
Yeah.
that. I don't know if you have to
I
add something, Ashkan.
And
Yeah, I mean, you probably experienced it. I haven't had ADHD, and I guess I'm grateful for that. But the reason why I wanted to add a few things. So I have my daytime job. I work for Walmart Canada, and in there we have this lunch and learn that I talked to you about where we do mindfulness, and a lot of we do. So for the person who asked the question, we do have a lot of techniques that are currently being used at like corporate level, bigger companies, all the Fortune 500 companies. They train their HRs to kind of, use these techniques, and they are very specially catered for workplace environments. So you could do box breathing. Box breathing is really good.
Yes.
The first thing that I would do is I would just walk away from that situation, right? When you walk away, walking changes your state of mind. That's one of the things. I don't know if you guys knew, but Steve Jobs had all his important executive meeting walking. And I want to come back to Steve Jobs and the concept of death that you mentioned earlier. It's very powerful. But just to answer the audience question, so I would just walk away, change the state of mind. I would go somewhere where I can possibly meditate. With meditation, you don't need to be a guru. Like all you need to do is just like put your attention to your breathing and just inhale, hold for a few seconds and exhale, but just keep your attention on your nose and your inhale and exhales. And some people would say, oh, what if it happened in a meeting environment where I can't walk away? But there are there are tools that you can put into place, because when you experience trauma, at that point, your brain patterns, and we'll get to neuroplasticity later, Hamza, I know we're going to talk about that a lot, but when you experience trauma, say you're right on the spot, your boss is there, she or he shows up to your desk, and you're like, like your ADHD kicks in and takes control, and you can't just walk away, like just your boss is talking to you. So what you could do is you could put systems in place to remember. Like what we recommend is like if you touch the handles of your chair as a reminder to trigger something. Now, what you can do, add to that trigger, is thinking like some thoughts, some mental tools, right? So I'll give you an example. You could like remember, say the things that when you were a child, it always made you feel good, or things, I don't know, we all have this superstitious things in our mind that makes us feel great or better, or
that's
I don't know, we all say
that's
this too, this too shall pass, or I don't know, like we like there are better techniques in mindfulness, like one we talked about with Hamza yesterday. You could think you're the sun and all these negative emotions are like the clouds, they're just passing you. This is just temporary, right? Your boss is going to walk away, you're not going to die, it's not end of the world. Like, so, but at that, so the trick is, how do you remember all these things? How do you do this sudden or change of state of mind? Because it's very hard. You're getting yelled by your boss, and your support, your defense system is up, your brain is in survival mode, you can't really think about anything. That's when you like you use that chair handles as a trigger. You're like, okay, now I remember, I grabbed this, okay, I need to calm down, just breathe, don't even listen to her. You know, there are things you can use, but I don't want to really go into details about it because that's a whole mindfulness thing. But to your audience, like he or she, he can type mindfulness on Google. It's a very well established concept and it's implemented very well in the corporate world. Sorry, that was my pitch.
Thanks for sharing.
And
Great point.
no worries.
And Ziad is saying just kick him in the balls, Gomez, and he's
I
adding.
mean, that's a good temporary solution. You might get fired.
And
Yeah.
and
Don't
he's-
do that.
Yeah, and Ziad. By the way, Ziad is his musician as well. He's I'm in a band with him. He's the drummer of my band, and he's adding is like
Nice.
glad to hear you guys discussing such issues. Yeah, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
for
good,
sure.
you know, that because we on a daily basis we actually go through these things, and it just takes that moment that you just you come back to yourself, you just recenter or something like this, you just come back to yourself and you realize that, oh, these things are there and now they're bugging me, so they're annoying me, so what's the way around it? So that's exactly one of the stuff that Ashkan mentioned, just like breathe and breathe in and out and just try to meditate, anything that can comfort you for that exact moment, just to let the heat go away. But guys, I mean, there is so much else into this whole growth mindset. What can you guys explain, like like the most, like the more serious parts of it, as in the how to practice this, how to get into it, or are you guys done with the introduction, or there's still more introduction to the topic?
No, we can take
No, we
it
can
wherever we
move
want.
forward.
Yeah, we can just dive into it.
So you know what? Why you guys don't take turns and explain your experience with this whole growth mindset and how you guys came to establish that understanding for yourself and make it part of yourself, and that whole realization is now a program in you. So each one of you explain it in your own experiences, and I think you guys can use examples and how it happened and how you avoided the stuff and things like this.
Okay. So I'll go first because last time
Sure.
I pushed Hamza to go first. But yeah, basically, like what you ask right now is exactly what Hamza said, right? That moment of realization when you're at the lowest of the lows and you hit rock bottom, and then some people don't even feel that, but then like there are sudden cases and incidents in life that really move you, like could be a request from a grandfather to bury him. And there are things when you get in that environment and it just like it messes up with the wiring in your system, right? So you start seeing a glimpse of things, you start questioning things. And I believe everything starts with questioning, right? When you start challenging the status quo, that's when you start getting curious. And people have it, I don't know, initially when I started being a little bit of woo-woo, or some people say woke, a lot of people say this person is woke, right? And you start like thinking about, okay, there's more than what the eye meets, there's more than what the society thinks, there's more what my parents think, or there's more than what I thought it is, right? So that realization, it could come like that, or it could come in Jamal's case where he had to go through a very rough patch of his time, and totally different than what I experienced. But he experienced it in 6-7 years of total isolation, and I experienced it through like just interacting with different things in life and just learning from that experience. And you had it in that moment, right? That, like some people say, like trauma, right? We have numerous, like we all know that one person who went through this great deal of trauma and came out as a different person. Now you could come. So this is a good segue to kind of cut into what we're talking about. You could come out of that trauma as a winner or as a loser, or as with a growth mindset or a victim mindset, or it's during those realization that you need to make that decision. And And the problem is, a lot of us are not, as humans, we are not equipped to make good decisions in those traumatic states of mind, right? We are, as humans, we are hunters and gatherers, right? The evolution started, our first instinct was survival mode. And that's the instinct that kicks in when we are in trauma, and we always look for comfort. So that's why we start victimizing ourselves, because being a victim is very comfortable, right? So and there are ways you can change, right? There are ways you can teach your brain how to kind of, it's very hard, it's very I want to say inhuman, but very likely impossible, but you got to train it. So you have a trained mind and untrained mind, and the trained mind always wins over untrained mind. Now, I was an untrained mind. I had my realization. For me, it didn't happen through a moment like you, or a life event like Jamal. For me, it happened through I think a lot of overtime thinking, right? Just like my brain, you know, sometimes. Like, dude, I'm pretty sure I could pass for ADHD or even be on the spectrum. I just never bothered being diagnosed. I'm telling you, because my dad was in healthcare. He's like, he's fine. So my mom always took it for granted. But my brain, I mean, like, I have friends that we all think we are not normal, and everyone is special on the end. I'm not saying a genius, but I don't consider myself a genius at all. No one does. But for me, it happened just thinking, just like my brain, like sometimes like, yeah, we'll get into like flow zone and all that. It gets into that zone and I start thinking about other things. And I started like reading things here and connecting the dots. And then I started learning about how, like, what we are fed and what we are programmed. There could be different things, and there's enlightenment, and there is like this brain, and you can train it to kind of shift between those different mind states. So I got your whole spiel, like what you realize in that moment. I started just being curious and kind of chasing it. I was a very hardcore science guy, so I never believed in mystic or the woo-woo stuff. Like we talked about this yesterday, right? I started with hardcore science just because like it's my nerd side of things. I want hardcore facts. And then, so I started with like following people who were talking these things in science language. We got Peter Diamandis, the big AI guy. We got Tom Bilyeu, well, he's not the science guy, but we got Andrew Huberman, or we got a lot of science people, and then we got other people like Dr. Joe Dispenza, and we got mystic people like Sadhguru, or a lot of other people that we're going to cover, and we have talked a lot about them.
They all have the same message if you look at
exactly.
it.
Exactly. So I started with science. So my journey and realization started with science, and then I mixed up with a little bit of like I want to say metaphysics, and then got into metaphysics, quantum, and then it's getting spiritual now too. And when I'm connecting all these dots, and I'm like these people are saying the exact same thing, and a lot of people realize it and a lot of people don't. So for people to realize it, Ahmed, to answer your question, it's different things. You can follow it. You can have your own inner journey, as they say. Your inner journey could be in a life event like Jamal. Your inner journey could start, a spark could start in a moment. And for my inner journey, I had some of those moments too, but they were never as impactful as Hamza's. I did 10 day of silent retreat in the woods of Vipassana, and I told you we're going to talk about this today a lot more, but that helped me with a lot of realization. It's you put yourself in a state of mind and situations and that frame of mind that you can realize things beyond your the reality that you think it exists.
And it's 10 days of silence, right?
It is. So it's funny, like Oh my God, the story of how I ended up going there, and it's such a
No
story.
speaking
Sometimes,
for 10 days, I hear.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no phone, no reading, no talking. You don't even make eye contact with anyone. There's
Hmm.
like 200 people, but you don't even like talk to anyone.
So how
And the
was
food
it
is
like?
such a
Yeah, is it like a self-isolating thing, or is it like, or it
no. Well,
meant
you
to
could
be
do
this way?
self. No, it is. So it's a meditation technique. It comes from teachings of Buddha,
Mm-hmm.
and it's Vipassana. Some people pronounce it Vipassana, but it's a meditation technique,
Mm-hmm.
and it originally used to be 26 weeks long. At the
Wow.
time, like when like Buddha and those like gurus practiced it. So there's this last kind of instructor whose name is jeez, I forgot his name.
Like Ramdas? No.
No. Anyways, he made a good speech at UN before he dies too. This one guy, he squeezed it to 10 days. He's like, there's no way you can benefit from this technique less than 10 days. But once you do the 10 days, you can go back for 3 days and all that. But 10 days is the only way to get in. And yeah, so at Walmart, we used to have during this mindfulness session, we had a director, Janie Prawley. Shout out to her. She's a head of our HR there, and she's a big mindfulness. I would call her guru or spiritual gangster. She does a lot of things, and she introduced me to this, and she's kind of my mentor as well.
Hmm.
And for her, it was life changing, and I took it. And at that point of my life, I knew there's more, and I need to go find some answers. So and also, I came across it through one of Tom Bilyeu's podcasts when he was interviewing Colin O'Brady, the guy
Hmm.
who did this longest walk through North Antarctica, who was never done in human history. He went unsupported from this end of pole to the other end of the pole, and he did it. And he said one of the biggest thing that mentally like gave him that capacity to do that. Because guys, like, go
Hmm.
see that episode. It blows your mind. But so I was hearing it from, like, I started connecting the dots. I'm like, oh, I see it on my favorite
Hmm.
podcast. Then Janie told me to do about it. Like, it pops on my browser. Oh, so I started connecting the dots. You know how you say
Mm-hmm.
universe sends you all that. And the story of me getting there, Ahmed, I drove there. It's like 3 hours into the woods, and it was like December in Canada. It's like negative 30
Yeah, I know.
degrees easy.
Yeah, yeah.
There's black ice, like you slip. There's a walk where you park your car. It's in the forest
Mm-hmm.
until you go to your little huts. There's like little cottages, the cabins. And I reached there, my car stopped working, the battery died.
Wow.
I was very hesitant to start it too. So I was kind of double thinking while I go there,
Hmm.
because a lot of people drop out on the second day, and it can be intense on brain. But I like, this is not to say you guys should not do it. This is just to say you guys should definitely do it. Like,
Hmm.
a lot of people asked me when I came back, like my brother and everyone, they're like, how was it? And when you leave after 10 days of not talking, like when you come back to the city, even when you hear the water, it's so loud when you shower, like your mind
Hmm.
is so clean. It's like you kind of
Wow.
deprogrammed all those neurons and those firing and wirings. You just
Hmm.
like decoded your brain, and you're back and you freshen up. And they even tell you, like, guys, when you go back to normal life, and people are curious to know what you experience, everyone's experience is totally different. Like, some
Hmm.
people come there to get over trauma, some people come there to answer questions,
Hmm.
everyone looks for a different thing. Mine was just like, I just wanted to do it. I thought
Hmm.
it's the point of my life to do it. And yeah, you can't explain it, but all I can say is, like, I wish I did it, like, I want to say 10 years ago
Mm-hmm.
or 8 years ago at least.
Nice.
Like it gave me so much clarity, and like things became a lot more clear. And I was
Hmm.
like now, like, it helps with everything. You become
Like
efficient as
now,
a human being.
now you're perceiving things in a different way. It made like it
Not
kind of
really, no,
it
it
it,
will
it
not change you. It will
it
not
kind of, but
change you
at
at
least
all.
like it cleared the clutter in your brain.
For a time. But when you
Yeah.
come back, you start practicing too. So you do 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour every night. It's
Mm-hmm.
very hard, but I've
Mm-hmm.
been lucky with pandemic. I've been able to do it. So when
Mm-hmm.
I
Hmm.
came back, right when I came back, there was work. I was struggling to keep it, and when you struggle to keep up the practice of meditation, it becomes rusty and you're not as well balanced. But if you keep it going, yeah. But again, it's again just one tool. It's one tool that can help you. You know, there's so many things, and that's been, I guess, my side of story. Sorry, I went on
No, it's fine, man. It's fine. I mean, anyway, I mean, we are trying to explain it as much as we can, like, you know, just because the audience could understand it as well. Because as we discussed last night, it's just not an easy thing just to dive in and learn everything on the get-go. And just to complete the thing, Gomez is saying thank you for the advice. Thank you for the advices. Changed my mindset when my parents kicked me out for smoking some herbs for a nice apartment to the street. However, since then I changed my lifestyle, doing better and having more goals than just partying.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's
Thanks
great.
for sharing.
Yeah.
No, that's a great story.
Hamza, to connect this, because I know you're into that whole inner child thing, because I think there is a connection. There is a very good connection because whatever he went with, whatever Ashkan, he actually explained the whole 10 days of silence and stuff like this. Basically, it's like you're just isolating your brain. You're just, giving a break to yourself so you can realize what's going on. There's so much, as you know, last night Ashkan was mentioning is like, man, I have three monitors in front of me, and I have my iPad, I have my phone. There's so many things that we're very interconnected and intertwined with these things that we can't get out. It's just, by default we got stuck in this. So for your segment, what happened when you, because you did this whole, soul searching and finding your inner child, as you were saying, there is a lot of things that you need to keep in mind. Can you shed some light, and if there is a connection to what Ashkan mentioned?
Yeah, I'll just backtrack a bit as you were talking about the growth mindset as well, and then I'll kind of segue into the inner child. So what is a growth mindset? It's become a pretty popular keyword these days. We're seeing that a lot out there, but it's a more modern term, but it stems back to thousands of years. And I see it as what growth mindset is today. You can see it in different scriptures, different masters from the past, but what I see is the Stoic mindset. So Stoicism, and I see that as the growth mindset. And what is Stoicism? It is that I cannot change what happens to me, but I can change how I react to it, and that makes all the difference.
And they say, sorry, I'll jump in.
I think Ashkan got stuck.
No problem. So as I was saying, I can just continue on till it comes back.
You can continue on.
So you cannot change what happens to you, but you can change how we look at it, how we react to it, and that makes all the difference. And me being in a victim mindset for half my life before, I was like, why is this happening to me? Why is this doing? And I was giving all that control, my locus of control, to the external. So what does that mean? There's internal control and there's outside control. And I'm giving the control and power to the outside. So
Ashkan,
I'm giving.
Back?
Yes.
Welcome back.
Sorry. Thank you.
It's fine, man. It's fine. So sorry to cut you off, Hamza.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah.
So I was saying that we have this locus of control that we can focus on things that are outside of us and let that dictate our life, or we can let the internal. So external could be a victim mindset, would be sad about this thing happening, or the weather is so bad, so I'm going to be sad because the weather is bad. But you had no control over the weather. Why would I be sad or change mood because of that? It is what it is, what's happening outside. Or a person cutting me off, other thing cutting me off while I'm driving. I can choose to be angry about it, or I can say thank you for teaching me patience. That's how I've made the switch. Before, I would get angry and have road rage when someone's doing through that, especially growing up in Dubai, which is all about everyone is quite an aggressive driver there. So that was kind of still with me when I came to Canada. But when I realized when people do this, it's an opportunity for me after having a growth mindset, is to see it as an opportunity for me to practice patience. So that is what a growth mindset is looking at every situation as a learning opportunity to become better, to opportunity for you to grow, So whatever life brings in front of you, everything, you're like, okay, how can I help this to help me improve? Even if it's a rejection, it's a setback, something positive, just look at it as a learning opportunity. So that's what I feel like a growth mindset is, that you cannot change, but you can change your own attitude, your own mindset, and that makes all the difference. So some of the ways you were talking about, like your previous question about, the inner child. So I realized that for one to and bring into a growth mindset is a few things a person has to do, but the one thing is knowing your own self. And knowing yourself means understanding, and that can be, as Ashkan mentioned, through meditation and reflection. That's definitely a major part of it. The other part is understanding you, understanding your past, understanding your upbringing, understanding the experiences we went through, because those primitive years, the 1 to 10 years of age, that's when we were absorbing a lot. That's when we were really impressionable. So a lot of the things that happen, events, circumstances, things were being, we had impressions, and they kind of, we took that experiences and they became ingrained in us, basically.
Yeah,
And
that's when
those,
your brain is more plastic than ever,
yeah,
right?
yeah, very plastic. So we're absorbing and
Yeah,
making these neural pathways, all these different ones from all
exactly.
these experiences. And some of them are positive, some of them are negative. But they all get stored in the unconscious mind. And as we kind of can keep them in unconscious mind, and slowly start becoming some of the values that we ingrained as growing up. And these are not
Exactly.
values that a parent just instilled on someone or teachers. These are values we learned by observing, because a child is the most observant thing out there. It's a learning machine, 1 to 5 years of age, it's like a learning machine, I call it. It's like a
Dude,
AI. They're just learning and absorbing everything. So sometimes they'll absorb the values that are consciously put on them, or sometimes they'll witness things. And some of those things might not be beneficial to us, but we're still holding on to those.
yep.
And some of them could translate into that victim mindset again, that's there. So I feel that's why it's so important to understand our past, especially now, because I'm 30, 31 now, and I feel like I've gone through a few stages in my life, and now looking back, I'm seeing certain things that come up at this stage of my life. That why do I believe this is important? Is it because did not get this as a kid? Or so it's about really looking back and like looking into our past, and really understanding where all of this, why we believe the things we believe. So that's why it's so important, because having that growth mindset is first knowing yourself. And that's there in every kind of past, or through religions, through spirituality, through masters, through career coaches, to life coaches. They all talk about know thyself. So that's why I think by knowing yourself, understanding your childhood and reconnecting with your inner child when you're older. And what is the inner child? It's that part of you. It's the personality. It's a part of you that is inside of you. It's there that some of the things that got suppressed as we're growing up, so it just stayed inside of you and dormantly. So it's about bringing that and connecting with that part of the personality, and that's what my whole journey in seeking for the past 9 years, since I kind of got this awareness, has brought me back home. I realized I was seeking all the answers outside, but I realized
Yeah,
all I
and
had to
it's
do
all
was
in you.
understand all myself better. I
Exactly.
had to understand my childhood and my past and all the experiences I've gone through, and that will give me so
Exactly.
much more knowledge on what I truly want. What is my mission in life? Once you actually start
Exactly.
understanding those areas of yourself,
And
that
and
make
it's important, Hamza. Let me just fill in some of the stuff that you
please,
said. Like, so how Hamza said is like, I'll try to add a bit of science. I'm not a scientist by any other means, but this is just me, whatever I've accumulated by doing research, reading, and here there. And I'm pretty. I can get antsy about facts, so I do my fact checks. But this is what's been also said and proven through a lot of labs and research work, that when you're, just like Hamza said, when you're like that age of 1 to 10, and your mind is very fluid. They say the plasticity of your brain, it starts being very plastic and it becomes a lot more solid, right? It's not fluid anymore. That's why you learn a lot less when you're older
Yeah,
That's why it
I
becomes
can learn
harder to change
languages
any of the
easier.
habits. Exactly. That's why, you know how they say, like, if you have an accent by this age, you're not going to be able to change it, whatever. I think the age they say is like 15 or something. I don't know, but a lot of things like that, and people say, yeah, whatever, but it's been proven, and it's definitely the programming that you get in that first 10 years of your life is detrimental. It's very crucial. It lays a foundation for your thinking. You don't even know it, but those are
Mhm.
the val and nine, no, I'll say 8 out of 10 times, those values that you pick at that early age are what your family has. So you start being a human by building your core values based on your mom and dad and your family.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and
and
your
and
friends
and
and
that's why
teachers.
everyone says family and then your habit and all of that. So, and a lot of times, like, even this is why, like, these days, like, the time moves so fast that when people, like, our generation and our father's generation and the generation before them, they get, like, back then when times used to change, there would never be this much of generational gaps, right? The baby boomers, the Gen X, and all the guys. But shout out to all the 90s kids. Those are all the
Yeah.
good kids out there. And then but
We're the
but
80s
basically
kids.
basically what's happening is at at this day and time, you have so much, you can think for yourself, right? Like, you did not have those tools to make all these decisions, right? Like, this is why a lot of our new generations are more spiritual. They are probably more open to have to not follow religion and follow their own ideology and making a decision what's good and bad, because they start questioning those childhood things. And this is because now we are in a society that we are able to make those decisions. Now I'll park it right there, and I want to also kind of link back to
Mhm.
the inner child and the programming that you get there. So,
Mhm. Big one.
especially very, very, very important. So I want to, like, I want people to understand that just because you were born in certain family with certain
Mhm.
traits or certain I don't know, circumstances that was probably not at your control at that age,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mhm.
does not mean, that does not define your future at all.
Yeah.
This is my thing. This is the whole thing. Like,
Yeah.
the big saying is, you can change, you can switch it, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
From, like Hamza said it for like a good few minutes. He elaborated in it. It's just that change, and you have to be able to make that change.
Mhm.
Sometimes you're born into families with abuses, or without
Mhm.
a father, or there are all these adversities that impact you
Mhm.
as
Mm-hmm.
an inner child. It could be anything. It could be like all sort of feelings, fear,
Mhm.
I don't know, shame, or a lot of different things
Yeah.
that that
But they're
that
not there
can.
forever. You can
Exactly. and
change
and you
those.
so you can so my this year's resolution was, I said I want to unlearn and relearn.
Mm.
That's what I was my 2020. I mean, it didn't go according to the plan because of pandemic, but, like, I honestly think, like, a lot of things that we know is status quo and can be changed.
Mhm.
But it's hard to make that change because of the programming that we had at that
Mhm.
age of very little, 1 to 10, or even it goes on. But time has changed so much that what we learned there and what we thought it would work there,
Mhm.
and the formulas that work for our parents, they
Mm-hmm.
do not work anymore in today's society, and
Mhm.
and the mental capacity. And that's why there's so much more depression
Mhm.
right now.
Can
There's
I,
so much more.
yeah, can I stop you over there? Because that's exactly, for example, me personally feel about that. Because as we mentioned this last night when we were talking off air, it's like, the place that you're staying, your background, your family, these factors might actually helping your state of mind of not
Yeah,
growing,
absolutely.
so like there,
Absolutely.
I don't know if there's like practices or like, even in within these environments, what a person can be doing for themselves so they can, stay
Dude,
positive and stuff like this? But again, wait. Like, if, let's say, like, there is no way around it. Let's put like the most ridiculous scenario ever. Like, his parents are like, crazy, or like, they're super religious, or like, it's just they're not that open-minded or not supportive or something like this. How you can break the cycle of, making them realize, or even help yourself by, just moving on. Because in my opinion, there's very little resources that you can use in that situation. So how you can
for
grow
sure.
your mind, how you can like grow your state of mind in that stage.
For sure. I'll talk a little bit because then I want to pass it on to Hamza. But that's I'm very passionate about those circumstances and being in those extreme circumstances. Now, I could come across as being biased because I essentially did not. I might not have grown with that extreme circumstances, but me myself growing up, like I said, you were there when we were kids. Like we like Drake says it from Toronto, we started from the bottom. Like seriously, like we did like like we were always, we'll get into being grateful and all of that, but we were always grateful, but at the same time, like we didn't have much. There were a lot of people who had a lot more than us, and they just I don't know where they are with their lives, and there are people who had a lot less than us and got even better and further than us. You know what I'm saying? There were people who I knew had not even half of the stuff that I had, and they are very successful and I don't know, rich and wealthy. You define what is that thing for you. Like for me, it has changed. But so Ahmed, what I'm saying is I'm very passionate about resilience. Those adversity, it builds resilience in you. Like I think like Hamza said last time, right? Yesterday, Batman, he had his downfalls that made him be Batman or Superman. I'm not, like, I know you guys are big on Marvel. Sorry, I don't know the details of the stories, but Hamza can get into it. But changing that negative to positive, I think resilience, right? Like that, like, I love, like, even my Instagram handle is Phoenix. I love the bird Phoenix because you guys know the story, right? Phoenix always dies, it burns into ashes and rises from the ashes, right? That shit, that gives me, like, I believe so much in it that you can, if you capitalize on it, you can get so much positivity out of it. But the million-dollar question is, how do you capitalize on adversity? How do you change something that is extremely so bad and awful into, like, what MJ did with the flu game? Remember, like, you're a big MJ fan, right? We talked about this yesterday. MJ would go on, like, Ahmed, like, I don't know if you're a big MJ fan. This guy would go on the court, and the night before his biggest games, he would make scenarios in his head that this other player, he messed up, he were playing with me, or he was like humiliating me, or he was trying to, be better than me in that last game. This thing never existed in reality. He would build up these scenarios in his head, and he would get so pumped out of it, and he would go in and like sweep the whole games. Like MJ was like, that's MJ. MJ was at his highest when he's like, I didn't even like.
I mean,
I'm a big MJ fan.
Yeah, maybe the guys are like
I
mistaken.
didn't even know
Michael,
his dad was shot.
It's Michael Jordan. It's not Michael Jackson. It's Michael Jordan.
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
Michael
Thanks for
Jordan.
clarifying.
No, thank you. No, I mean, Michael Jackson was a big personality himself, but not my cup of tea. But MJ, Michael Jordan, I was a big fan, but I also, it was to my surprise that his dad was murdered, and I don't know, he got the news. He still played. He had flu. He would go in. He would out practice everybody. Like he would coach the coaches. This guy was like, and MJ's whole thing is like that like the harder it gets, the more kick he gets out of it. And like I said, the million-dollar question is, how do you do that? The transition. And there are ways, right? And there are ways. It's been proven that we can talk about it. Hamza, I pass it on to you, but let's come back to this topic once you're done with it, because I know you have a lot of great things to add to it. So.
Yeah, because you know I actually want to go a bit deeper, as in like what is the simplest practices that you can actually do,
Yeah,
you
so
know.
let's get to
Yeah.
practices
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hamza's
Hamza, yeah, yeah, you
pitch.
can
Yeah.
carry on, man.
Well, I love the point you made about Michael Jordan, actually, and he's a great example. And what I learned, especially by watching The Last Dance, I'm sure a lot of us have watched it
Yes,
already, the
for
whole
sure.
documentary, and showed why he was the best of all, the greatest of all time, and still is,
Absolutely, yeah.
after that. And what I realized the biggest thing he did was, of course, like you said, the scenarios you make in mind, but in simplicity, he focused all his energy on what he wanted, not what he didn't want,
Hmm.
he focused on that, and then he and that comes to down to the stories, as you said, you're selling ourselves, that our lives, I've realized through my own experience, that our lives are defined by our own narrative, the stories we tell ourselves is the one that defines how our life is going to be. So what are the stories we are telling ourselves, unconsciously or consciously? Michael Jordan was telling him stories that these people like making up scenarios in his head that, oh, this person gave me a cold shoulder, so I'm gonna beat him in this game and really prove myself, or
Yeah,
whatever the stories he did make. But he was telling himself the stories that helped him propel him towards his goal, towards winning the championship, multiple times.
absolutely.
So it's about getting clear about what you truly want, and not focusing on what you don't want, or focus on what's going right, not on what's going wrong. We can focus on our circumstances. Oh, this happened. I was born in this kind of situation. I didn't have this. But if we dwell on those areas, that's going to increase more. So focus on the things you want. Get clear on that. And that's why we keep talking about mindfulness and meditation, or any kind of self-reflection exercise that raises your awareness, is to get clear about what you want. And once you are clear about what you want, get excited. Get super excited about what you want. Feel that
Yeah, let's
passion.
talk about that. Let's
Yeah,
talk about how
because
we can do that.
Yeah,
yeah,
we can even
and
talk,
how you do.
we can even talk
Mhm.
about the whole rejection part that she wanted to talk as well,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yep. We
these-
can leave it into that as well. But I'm talking about, feeling that passion for what you truly want is very important, and getting really clear on, that I want, this is what I want, this is my mission. And once you get clear, once you start getting excited, that's what builds momentum. So bring the emotion in what you want. Not just I would like to have this, or not because this is what society programmed me to have. It's not that I should be a doctor, lawyer, engineer because that's what my culture and my society tells me to be. What do you truly want? And once you really get clear on what you want, get excited about it, because that is the fuel to fan that flame. Your emotions are
And
like
and and
supercharged
if you
thoughts.
remember, sorry to interrupt, MJ did that in his height of his career. He left his championship and then went played baseball for 2 years because that's what he really wanted to do.
Mhm.
Sorry, back on you. Yes, and you get
Yep.
supercharged. And if it's not your passion, you want feel the supercharge.
Oh, totally. And he was good at that too. And if he kept staying in baseball, he could have made it to the major leagues as well.
yeah.
So whatever he puts his
Yes.
mind towards, and when you're passionate about something, when you have that fire, then that's when you really start building the momentum. But it doesn't just happen like this. You just one morning wake up, okay, I want this, so I'm going to be passionate. It takes time. So be patient with yourself. Be compassionate with yourself. Tell this takes time. But once you start building the momentum, and you start taking those steps, when you have that motion going, then you just ride that wave, and it pulls you into that. And that's what kind of growth mindset comes that way as well. You cannot shift into growth mindset instantly, but you slowly
Build.
bring these practices, bring the areas, and it starts shifting you out of that labyrinth, of that mental labyrinth that we've created when we're in that victim mindset, where everything seems overwhelming and thing to do. But it's about, again, getting clear about what you want, building that passion and fire, bringing that emotion in it, and imagining what the other thing is to feel like what would it feel like if you had it? What would it feel like holding
That's
that championship in your hand, as for Michael Jordan? What would it feel like? So what is that goal that any of the audiences or you guys have that you truly want? But think about it. What would it feel like as I've already had it? And as you're
Yes.
focusing on that, build on that feeling of already having it, because in the end, it's a thought, and a thought's an emotion. That's very important. But what one of the famous lines they say, it's by it's a quote by Gandhi, and it's also from other people as well. And it said that your thoughts become your words, your words become your action, your action becomes your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. So everything starts with the thoughts. So the why are
And
you
they
focusing on
say
the
it in the
Mhm.
1 to 2 thoughts become things. So your number
Yep.
one and your last one.
Yep, thoughts become things. An idea as a thought, like Steve Jobs had an idea of an iPhone in his mind. He saw the whole image in his mind while being in those deep meditative states. And that's what idea became into a concept. Concept became into a product. Product became an iPhone. And iPhone revolutionized the world basically from his products. So it all starts with that in the mind. So
And the
it's very
self
important.
talk.
It is, and it's the self-talk is extremely very important part of it. And there's different ways you can do self-talk through positive affirmations or lofty questions is another thing I've come across recently, which is instead of saying I am this, I am that, as affirmation, which sometimes we might not believe into, I like to put it as a question.
Mm-hmm.
So if it'd be like if Michael Jordan was there, why am I the greatest of all time?
Just one
Why
question.
am I?
One question. Sorry to cut you off because
Go for it, please.
I can I can relate it to what you're saying. Going back to victim mindset. Okay.
Hmm.
By default, we kind of born with it. Yeah. So it's the most sensitive part in us that triggers the most, like the fastest ever, because as
Hmm.
Ashkan mentioned, is that defense mechanism that our body is programmed, and it
Hmm.
comes in different shapes, as in like being scared, having like being afraid of something, or having the need of justifying things for yourself or to the other people, to proving your words, or like standing your ground, might all end up in that whole victim mindset somehow. But my question is that, like, how all this thing accumulates, and it just piles up
Hmm.
in your body or your soul, like on your chest, and you can't get rid of it, like, because of that piling up on you, that would affect your life journey, your whole decisions and stuff like this. So, like, each one of us had these things. I mean, I'm sure you guys had it once you were a kid. I mean, obviously
Hmm.
we are, like, we've been together, we know how things work in this area, and it's how crazy it is, the background, our families and stuff like this. But some of us were like privileged enough that it was a bit different for each. But what I'm
Hmm.
trying to say is that we are already having that tendency of being a victim in our brain.
Hmm.
So
You do, yes.
so why we are programmed this way? Is it because we need to find that enlightenment in ourselves, or this is the beauty of life, that we need to be, like, soul searching and doing this thing
Hmm.
by ourselves to learn the whole, how this circle of
Hmm.
life, or this cycle that it called life, works? What is it? Is it like, we had to deal with this victim mindset just to reach to this point?
Well,
Well,
there's a few points to that, and there's different reasons. Could be circumstances, could be there, but another one that I'd like to bring out is the programming and the conditioning that we've had. Society tells us we're not enough. Society tells us we have to achieve this to be happy. We have to get this to be happy. We have to do this, but it's all just programming. It's not really true itself. It's happiness is in the now, and it starts with ourselves. But
but
we
it's
always.
but it's in our jobs, it's on, like,
Mhm.
it actually by default fell into our routine. It's just that
Mhm.
now me, you, and Ashkan, we're realizing it,
Mhm.
and I'm sure the people who are watching, they're realizing it, that there is something wrong with life. That, how hard is it to even change people's mindset, when it's a struggle for yourself to change yours. So
Yeah.
even like during your daily basis chores, that thing exists. How to avoid it, like, how to get out of this victim mindset.
Well, there's a
Ahmed,
few different things. Sorry, just one
good.
sec.
Yeah.
I wanted to just mention that, there's a few different things, and we can go through that list. I have a lot of ways how to shift into
Which we need to do. We
a
need
growth
to, yeah.
mindset. Yeah. But one of the things I've realized is stop looking at the news. it's meant to program people into negativity. I studied journalism for 4 years and I did it for a year as well. And I left that field because I realized it was all about if it bleeds, it leads. This is all the news, everything is meant to just promote negativity. So take away that negativity from your life. The news, the media, the people who are negative in your life, switching them out from them, the ones you can, of course, and surround yourself with people who are inspired, who are positive, who really want this. And because they say we become like the 5 most people we hang out with. So it's about relooking at our circle and seeing who are the ones who's actually bringing me down and which ones are the ones bringing me up. And it's about, setting those boundaries again with the ones that are bringing you down. Of course, sometimes it could be family, so you cannot fully cut them out or anyway, but it's about setting those boundaries. But also surround yourself with more positivity, growth, focus. Like again, when you shift into the growth mindset, you look at learning, you're reading a lot, you're listening to podcasts, you're looking at inspirational stuff out there, and that's how you slowly start building that momentum inside that's there. But it's about cutting out the negativity. And the other thing that me and Ashkan were talking about is the automatic negative thoughts.
And
And you can elaborate on that if you like, Ashkan.
Sure. Yeah. You left me at ants. Okay, let's start with that. Thanks for the segue. I'll briefly touch on the ants, but there's been like you were, I don't know if you saw, I was so excited to jump in. I'm like, oh no, he's doing good, and I'm like, I wanna chime in and then just add more facts to it, and I get so excited, but I don't mean to interrupt you, and I also enjoy so much when you say it, because I get it's funny. It's something that occurred to me right now. Even like I told you this yesterday, but like yesterday we had a brief talk, and now we're having more, and I'm like, it's a perfect recipe for people who are actually like new to this thing, because Hamza goes on and talks the big image, and I just want to come in and kind of back it up with facts and tell you guys, hey guys, this is not us just talking gibberish and being woo. Like Hamza says the visionary side, and I can kind of attest to the scientific facts. Anyways, that was my reason for being so excited. But back to ants and negative self-talks. It's very powerful, and Hamza elaborated on how it can just decide what you do, what you believe, your values, your behaviors. He walked you through the cycle of how a negative thought or a positive thought, he said it both negative and positive. He said a good thing, like a thought of an iPhone by Steve Jobs became a product and revolutionized everyone's lives, and a negative thought could stay there and just become something bigger. And what I wanted to touch on, and Hamza said it, but more on the technical aspects of it, is how you can actually change your brain. And because the question again becomes, okay, Ahmed, you the question that started this whole conversation was like, we are born with victim mentality. Yeah. I just wanted to add a correction to it. We are not born with a victim mentality. We have no mentality when we are born. The problem is we inherited too early in our lives, like the inner child days of 1 to 10 years. And at that point of our life, our brain is so plastic, but we have less control over our lives. We can, like when you're 10, you cannot pick and choose what belief system you want. You cannot pick and choose do you want a victim mindset or do you want like a winner mindset? But it's fed to you, okay? And then, so you grow with it, and then it builds your self-talk, right? So you inherited those negative ideas from your mom, your dad, your friend, this and that, school teacher, and then it becomes your self-talk, okay? Because that builds up your subconscious. Now, people would say, how do you change the programming, right? How do you change that negative thing that was fed to you by your surroundings and your society and the people? So it's here that I want to get into neuroplasticity, and then me just saying plastic brain,
Good
and
point.
people are like, yeah, what is this? And our
Yep.
brains are not plastic. But so research just found out not too long ago. This is a recent discovery, I think about 50 or 70 years ago, that our brain is all these neurons. That's why they say it's plastic, and it has no shape, right? It's neurons, and they all make connections, like they fluid and they move and they just connect at times. Those connections are called synapses, right? So your sensory neuron and the motor neuron, they connect and the synapses happen, and that leads to a pattern in your brain, and that could be your interpretation, right? So just to go a little bit more in details, so you see something in your brain, but your brain doesn't know if you're seeing a pen, an iPhone, or a headset or whatever. Your eyes bring those lights in,
The image.
and they connect. Exactly. And your brain builds up the image, right? Your brain does not see your outside world, right? Your brain does not see anything that you see. Your brain
Sees
sees
the
the
five
light.
senses.
Yeah, so I'm just talking about the sight now.
Visual.
But yeah, it's a combination of all that. So here I just want to talk about the visuals. So it brings it, and your motory and sensory neuron make a synapses, and a pattern forms, and your brain is like, okay, I know this pattern. This means a glass. This means blue. This is white. This is a rectangle. So for everything that you know, there's a connection, right? And like, this is very details, like, but what people don't understand is like all these connection can change because it's fluid, it's always moving, right? So if you know, so a victim mindset always knows these negative things because it knows only this negative connection, because the pattern never changed, the brain never shifted to think about positive. And that shift is called paradigm shift, right? And that's the most difficult thing, like,
So true.
because your brain it's not easy. Like how hard is it to quit smoking? How hard is it to get up at 5 a.m., right? Like how hard it is to get things done. It's because our brain doesn't even have not experienced those connections, right? So you gotta, like, you can build it, and this is where the conversation of cultivating things happens, right? So how do you cultivate new ideas, new patterns? So you know this is bad, and you always habitually or automatically you do the negative things, and you already know you're a negative person, you do negative things, and you have that feedback loop, and it's always negative. How do you break that cycle and make you experience new patterns in your brain? So it starts with, like, obviously self-talk. We talked about that, but I want to get into more details. Hamza talked about the self-talks and what are the concepts. I want to tell you guys, what does self-talk actually do? So we talked about self-talk. We have ants, the automatic negative thoughts, and they're automatic because the patterns are already there. How do we change those automatic patterns, the negative thoughts, into positive? Through positive self-talk. Okay. So what our brain, okay, so we have all these, like, our brain talks through hormones, right? Those are the messengers, right? When our brains want to send text messages to each other, like the prefrontal cortex wants to talk to other parts of the brain, they send messages through
Why
hormones.
you're not a doctor, man?
Oh, well, I was supposed to. My dad expected that from me. But anyways, back to the point. So we have receptors, we have the hormones, we have the neurons to recept them. We have oxytocin, we have serotonin, we have dopamine, right? These are the good hormones, the good feeling,
the main ones.
the feeling, yeah, all the good stuff. So serotonin and oxytocin, I don't want to get into it. I want to talk about dopamine, because dopamine is what actually help us to make the transition. Serotonin and oxytocin is the more in body feeling. But by the way, guys, I feel my AirPod is dying. So if I'm cutting off, just let me know so I can go on the speaker.
Okay.
But dopamine is what scientists believe that can help you make those transition, those bridges, the paradigm shift. And people ask, okay, so I mean, yeah, okay, I have dopamine. It comes after a good coffee, or after a sexual intercourse or feeling of achieving something. It's that thing that makes you feel so good and exuberant. You're like, okay, I don't have a button to trigger it, right? How do you trigger dopamine, right? And why do we need to trigger dopamine? I'll answer question number 2. The reason why we need to create dopamine is because in order for your brain to leave that like lazy loser mindset to a good winner mindset, to a growth mindset, your brain needs a reward system, right? You cannot just like tell your brain, hey, your brain is like an untrained dog, right? The untrained brain. It's a monkey brain. You talked about this yesterday. So you got to feed it reward system. You got to give it bananas, and those bananas are dopamines, right? And there's a concept. So people are like, how do you actually do this? So there's this thing called subjective insertion of dopamine. And how do you do that? You do that with self-talk. So self-talk is the recipe for your dopamine, for you to, in order to make that transition.
Programming the brain.
Exactly. So like Hamza said, like, you know how you got to build like stepping stones and go bits and pieces, that change doesn't happen. So you gotta start programming yourself with this whole thing called subjective insertion. An example would be like, just to make it these are just like buzzwords for saying things as simple as, hey, all you need to do is you gotta start rewarding yourself very little. Did I go off?
No, we can hear you.
No, I'm good. Okay, so and how that works is like every day you start, like affirmations are good, little to-do lists are good, but like you can do all those things, but the key here is you should always keep a progression. Okay, you should. So what we do is like we make it to the gym for a month and then we relapse. Consistency is very important. And when we relapse, it's harder. You need twice as much as dopamine to get back where you were. So you got to be very consistent and organized. And this is why people who are successful, they have such a like regimented schedule. They wake up 5 a.m. They start building, like they do that dopamine insertion, right? They empower themselves all the time, right? And when you do it, it starts. Your brain is like, shit, like now this is a habit for me. You do it so much, you fake it so much until you make it. That's the whole concept.
Totally.
Like the fake it to make it is the subjective insertion of dopamine. You just tell yourself, I'm the shit, until you actually start talking that talk and walking that walk.
Yep. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was like, so basically a reward center. You start getting more dopamine releases for the things that are good for you in your life. Yeah. Shifting from those watching TV, getting that dopamine release from TV, but shifting that towards going to the gym and feeling that same amount of reward from going to the gym. So it takes a bit of momentum, but then you'll get the same kind of satisfaction you would by watching a show or video gaming, but move it towards that. But it takes a little time. A bit I wanted to share. Every year, I actually do a dopamine fast.
Really?
I've realized. So I'm actually due for one. So, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. More than Ramadan, more than anything else. So basically, what a dopamine fast is, I started to realize that I'm procrastinating a lot in my life because I'm just doing things I like doing. Like, watching TV, going out with friends, hanging out, doing things I like doing, and pushing off the things I don't want to do, like sometimes going to the gym or doing this work or writing this article I'm focusing on or other things. So I realized my baseline dopamine levels are so high that it's craving all these activities like TV and other things or whatever they are, that gives me that release, smoking or anything like that. But so what I do is the dopamine fast is reduce that dopamine releases that your brain is having. So what I do is for one day, you wake up till you go to sleep. The only things you can do is drink water, stretch a bit, journal, and meditate. That's it. No eating, no talking to people, no looking at your phone, no music, no reading, nothing. It's just one day where you just do nothing in there. And it's hard because your body is craving to have that reward from doing those things. But I noticed after doing that, after going through that, the next day I was excited about cleaning my house. I was excited about doing different things. It's just I'm like, wow, this is great. I get to put that towards there. So that's why I realized the power of dopamine. And sometimes in our lives, when you're especially in a victim mindset, our reward purpose is only coming from these unproductive tasks that are there. So,
Exactly.
so it's about
Comfort
reducing
zone.
that, yeah, the comfort zone. And I get too much in the comfort zone. So with the dopamine is fast, it gives you a reset and you just do nothing. The only thing you can write, stretch a bit, not even work out because that gets your endorphins running and gives you dopamine as well. And meditate, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just great because I felt like I need to do this once a year, every year, because it just brings my levels down, and then I can focus on the tasks I need to do and get excited about those tasks. So it's
I
very
like
important,
how
I
we're
feel.
getting to the tools. Let's talk about a few tools that people can use,
And
like what you did, like the dopamine
yeah,
fasting.
just before that, I forgot to mention this. Gomez commented, "It's hard for me to make new good friends like you, Hamza. How do I make the transition?" And I hope still watching Gomez. So he's asking how to make that transition.
Um, Transition towards, there's different ways, but I guess it's about finding like-minded people who share that similar interest. But it's about seeing how does this person putting their personal growth higher than anything else in their life, because I think that's the biggest priority we all need to put in our life is our personal growth. So that's how I try to find like-minded people. Is this person values personal growth and development,
Mm-hmm.
or are they just looking to be in their comfort zone? So I like to connect with people who live outside the comfort zone or constantly pushing their boundaries of their comfort zone.
Well, man,
For sure.
So
comfort zone is something that it's like that. That
we all
it's a,
fall
yeah,
into it.
it's a habit. It's a habit that
Yeah.
it's just great. You know what? Okay, it's a good segue. How we can do a mind exercise to which Ashkan was mentioning. How we can go about it. What is the simplest
Hmm.
fundamental factors that we can look into, if we can keep it brief. So brief
Hmm.
to the point, as in like
Yeah.
not very simple, because this topic is not simple at all. So
Yeah.
what are the alternatives that maybe someone can take in their life to change this?
Well, I mean, we can come back to meditation again because I think that has been the most powerful and impactful thing. And this is not some woo-woo stuff that you sit in a cave somewhere and just stay quiet and, connect with,
Okay, for
and you
example,
can do that. You can do that, but it's something that everyone needs to do.
okay, what is the
I just wanted to mention.
simplest
Yeah.
way to meditate? Like the
Sure,
simplest way ever.
it's super easy. Anyone can do it anywhere, anytime. And it's about just taking a few deep breaths in from the nose. What I do, this is the techniques I use, is to breathe in, take 3 to 4 deep breaths in from the nose, out from the mouth. And as I do that in the last out breath of the third, I reduce my breathing to normal and just close my eyes. And as I close my eyes, I start focusing on all my 5 senses around me. Not what I'm thinking, not the past or future, just what does the seat I'm sitting on feel like? What is the weight of my body on the seat, on the feet, on the floor, on the armrest? That's kind of a reminder as you was talking about the armrest. And then I start focusing on the sounds around me. What are the sounds around me right now? What does it feel? And then I do this kind of a check-in in my body. How does my body feel right now?
Mm.
And then is when I start really focusing on my breath. Once I've kind of anchored myself in this state. And as I'm focusing on breath, I'll imagine the in breath and out breath. I'm just going to observe the in breath and out breath. And if it's hard, just you can count it like 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you do this, our attention will go away. That's guaranteed for everyone. And that doesn't mean you're screwing up it. That is supposed to happen. This is the thing what people forget, that, oh, my thoughts are everywhere, I cannot meditate. But every time you lose your focus, the key thing here is to bring back that focus to the breath. And every time you bring back your focus to your breath, it's like doing 1 rep for the brain. That's how you bring
Absolutely.
attention. And the more you do this, the higher your self-awareness gets. And the more you do this in your normal day-to-day life, you can catch yourself when you're drifting away into it. I'm working on an email at work, but then I think about something or get distracted. I'm like, oh, I got distracted. I'll come back to this moment. And what I've realized is, why is this the most important skills in the world? Is because we live in a world full of distractions. The greatest asset is our attention. The greatest currency is our attention. Everything's trying to capture our attention. The news, the social media, the billboards, the signs, radio, everything is trying to get clicks, and in marketing as well. It's about clicks and
that's
of that.
It's funny.
And that's
one of these
dopamine.
social marketing, they have dopamine levels as their like KPIs that they measure. Like this website, how many clicks it has, how much dopamine release it gets. But carry on. I would love to elaborate on that with tools.
Yeah. So every time our attention goes away, so it's just about, as we more practice and do like 10 to 15 minutes a day, even start with 5 minutes and use apps. There's so many tech out there that you can use that can get you started in there, like guided meditation. You can use Headspace as an app, or Calm as an app, or other ones, that are there. And I'll share my journey. 3 years ago, I had another setback. I was driving to the dentist and I got T-boned. This lady crossed the red light, hits me hard. I did 100-degree whiplash, and it just put me in a state that my driving was impacted, and I was feeling this anxiety. So I came across the app Headspace, and I had done meditation before, but I'm like, I need to start bringing this exercise. And my company laid me off because my performance dropped because of the accident, and they had no empathy at all. So I hit again another low in my life 3 years ago. So I started like, okay, let me start practicing meditation and see where that can lead. I'd done it for 10 years before that, but never consistent. And I started doing these Headspace meditation. And there's different ones you can do on happiness, on composure, on balance, on commuting, on cleaning. They have all kinds, like a subscription based, but also free one. And there's one thing called the Streak over there. Sorry? Yeah, Happy Five.
P1 Happy Five, which is really good too. Yeah.
Exactly. There's so many amazing ones. What I liked about the Headspace one, that I kept going on this streak, because it said, I just wanted it being cheap. So I'm like, oh, if I do it 15 days straight, they're going to give me a free month membership. I'm like, cool, let's do that. And I did that 15 days. And then I realized there's another one at 30 days that you get it. Now there's 30 days. Okay. And I kept going. And then there was one at 100. Then there's one at 365 days. And now I'm at 1,000, almost 1,100 days now. And I haven't I haven't stopped at all. I've gone every single day. I've meditated, sometimes twice a day as well. And it's really shaped my perspective. And now that's why I'm saying that's the most important skill set you can bring into your life, because our attention spans are dropping lower, because we're always looking at our phones every second to check in. How many times do we all check our phones pointlessly with no purpose at all? It's almost like a comfort thing, for us.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. So we need to train ourselves. There's going to be more distraction and more tech coming up, and more interactive tech that's going to be there. So we need to develop our attention to focus on what's important, Otherwise, there's so much out there that, before, when we were seeking knowledge in areas, we needed a light, a searchlight to find the knowledge. But nowadays, we need to wear glasses to blind out all the other noise that's there, because there's so much light, so much media, so much data out there. They need to put those certain lenses. And by setting our attention, building our attention, and mindfulness and meditation is basically a concentration practice at simple sense. So that's what we need to do, is develop our concentration, because as a society we all struggle with it.
So okay, one of them is the whole meditation, self-talk, positive thinking and stuff. It's all come under one umbrella. So what is the other alternative ways that you can work your brain out?
There's a lot. So obviously, I agree with Hamza. Meditation is the bread and butter. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, go on, carry on.
Loud and clear.
So meditation is the bread and butter. It definitely is what you need to get started with. And Hamza totally explained pretty well. Like it's very simple. Like just Hamza said, breathing in, out, like body scan, feeling your senses, like being in the moment. Like guys, it all sounds overwhelming, but just I'll tell you guys how I started. YouTube, I searched for 5 minutes guided meditation, and a video comes, there's a person who guides you through, and you don't need to know anything. Just listen to the person. So that's how it would be so easy to start. Get your meditation practice. If you can go as consistent, Hamza, it's great. Like consistency is the biggest factor. Like I said, like during pandemic, I can do an hour morning, an hour in the afternoon, but that's on a normal day, non-pandemic, no quarantine. That would be impossible to fit into my daily schedule. But apart from that, what you said, like there are other techniques too, right? There's I don't know if you guys know this Dutch guy, Wim Hof, the Iceman. Yeah, he has the app. Since we talked about the apps and all, he has the Wim. Yeah, apparently has a strategy and a method of breathing and a push-up after it. It's not meditation. It's more like a body hack, because all these things are helping. See, meditation puts you in meditative state. Body hack, good nutrition, exercise, all this together will get you in that flow zone that we will get into if we have time. I know we're going we're quite close to cutting it short. But so if you guys want to do the Wim Hof, he has few exercises that elevates you, gives you that boost. It's not so much mental, it's more physical. The reason why I want to stress on the physical is because it's mind and body. It's 50-50% equation. It goes hand in hand. These days, I would say people need to focus more on the meditation side, because as humans, as we know ourselves, we are in a good shape physically. We kind of founded the concept of gym and physical health. I don't know, 45 years ago. We have never we don't have a concept of like mental health. So I think physically we're good, but we got to do mentally, but also physical is important. Your nutrition. You and I talk about bullet coffee. There's diets, obviously. There's fastings. All these things are there. Like, I don't want to overwhelm and give too much information because it's hard. But like, if one thing that people can take away would be 5 minutes guided meditation, YouTube, get started. No phone half an hour before you go to bed. Like, put your phone away, put it on airplane.
And the first 30 minutes of your morning as well.
When you're morning. So I get to it. Sleep well. When
Don't
you
look
wake
at your
up,
phone in the
do
morning.
not check your phone at all. Have a tall glass of water by your bed. It's helpful to be hydrated because you're 80% water. It does help with everything. And try for the first 10 minutes, don't do anything when you wake up. Like, that's what I do. I just drink my water and I just sit there. Like, your brain, like we talk about this before the thing.
Other than the positive self-talk.
No, also, or the self-talk, or you want to give enough time for your brain to changes from the alpha, beta, theta. Like, you want it to catch up. You know, when you just wake up and overwhelm yourself with the phone and the email and the work, all that dopamine that comes into your brain and all that like adrenaline, it just agitates you. So it kicks you off the wrong foot the whole day, right? So these are some of the tools, right? Like I said, as simple as like putting your phones away. I put my phone on airplane mode just because, like, that's been a habit since I was a kid. But drinking your water and also we can get into food. You have diet and all that. But Ahmed, you said you wanted to keep it high level. I don't want to go into food too much. But there is a lot of things you can eat that can just boost your mental capacity.
Yeah, man. I mean,
or take away from our capacity as well.
Well,
like fried food and like take away from mental capacity with the wrong foods, like processed sugar will give you a big boost of energy, but then you're gonna have a big crash and you're gonna go lower than you actually were before you had it.
I mean, now it's sorry to cut you guys off. Now it's like 2 years, almost 2 years that I'm vegan. And dude, the changes are drastic. You know, it's like crazy, the changes that I can see in myself. Okay, aside of the whole physical changes that you see that happens with your body, it's just that whole mental thing. You know, it kind of like, you know, it gives you that motive to be, you know, a bit more productive. You know, but again, it's a very slow change, but it depends on your initiative as well, that you are willing to change. Because I think we all agree, if you can do one thing,
you have to be willing.
Yeah, you need to be willing, and if you can do that decision for a week and you stay on that decision for a week, you can do it for a lifetime. So I gave myself like a 2-week break. I was like, listen, if you can do this for 2 weeks, to, you know, turn any animal product away and not having any animal product. And I did it. And I mean, it was easier for me to attack it, and I actually succeeded. And it's just hard when you go outside, you know, you need to, you know, you kind of, you shoot yourself in the foot, you know, there's so much other stuff, but there is little when it comes to, you know, but nowadays it's changed, you know, the whole veganism movement has changed. But I'm like, back to the point, the food itself can be the major change. That's one of the easiest things you can do. I mean, eat healthy. What is easier than eating healthy? Like like you have apples, for example. That's the most simplest thing you can have that can change your diet. It can change so many things in your body. It can prevent chronic diseases. There's there's crazy, for example, like people are going crazy over those vitamin C tablets, for example, nowadays because of the pandemic. Dude, me like I know like I had a good friend of mine on an episode called his name is Chandan Sujitra. The guy, he is almost 5 years vegan. So he was telling me his breakfast, he had like 5 items. That's it, 5 items, like, you know, chickpeas and a green pepper, carrot, and like few stuff. So he said just the green pepper itself, it had 260% vitamin C by itself. So you see, what I'm trying to say is that the whole fast food
impacts the brain.
Dude, fast food makes you depressed. It actually makes you depressed.
That's true.
Yeah, that's very well known, and it's been proven.
It's
like
just
we
crazy.
know, like I don't want to get into fast food makes you depressed. Fast food kills you. Everyone knows that. People just don't want to buy into it. Like you crave McDonald's. Like there was a famous saying, like if American people wanted like vegan food, McDonald's would sell vegan food. That we all know. Like that's why people make the decision. Like what I want to focus more is how better food makes you mentally better. Do you know what I'm saying? Because people don't see the value in good food. Because good food, yeah, whatever, but it's not. It goes beyond your aesthetics and physical and the good look and all of that. It really affects your
mood,
thinking, your mood, everything. So
I mean, you are what you eat, man. You are what you eat.
So it's funny, even in the 10-day silent retreat, they had such a restrict food. So first of all, you don't get food there. Food is given to you, right? And you don't. So it's funny, like you obviously don't pick the menu. You don't pay for anything. You are just there and you eat what you're served. So breakfast is like you wake up at 4 a.m. You meditate. Breakfast is at 6. So breakfast you have tea with either apple or banana. Okay, and then you get toast and everything is vegan. Okay, everything is vegan, and for lunch you get again vegan meals with a little bit like bare minimum. Okay, and then you have no dinner. For beginners at 5 p.m. you get a bit of tea and an apple. Dude, first 3 days I was starving, I was dying. Okay, and then I researched why the food is like that before I go, so I was prepared. Because the biggest thing, a lot of people cannot adjust, right? Because your whole sleeping pattern, your food, everything is disrupted. So even during days of Buddha, they would never allow people to meditate on a full stomach. You are not like, if you meditate on full stomach at 4 a.m. you probably fall asleep. There were people there. I sleep for early meditation, even though like it's because they had too much, you know, because some people were scared of being hungry, right? They were scared of hunger. They would eat so much that would keep them full for a long period of time. But then it's all mental. Trust me, it's mental and
all
physical
comes to the mind.
Like you can control how much you need. We are not as humans, we are not meant to eat this much of food and regulate it. That's why there's all this intermittent fastings, and because we've
been doing that for a
year.
year.
Our ancestors never ate breakfast, lunch, dinner. They were hunters. They would only eat whenever they could hunt.
Find meat.
Exactly. So over time, this whole regulated meal and eating, and then the fast food, the carbs, all this is all depression. We know that. Fact established, period.
Yeah.
But people need to realize the good food, like the vegetables, the green leaf, the foods that has green leaves, anything that has green, it's amazing for your brain. And
Antioxidant, man. It's
oh, for
antioxidants.
sure.
Yeah,
It
antioxidants.
has antioxidant, phosphorus, a lot of good iron, fibers, obviously.
Yeah,
Cool.
man.
But
Like banana itself, it's like the biggest what you call source of potassium.
Potassium.
Itself. Yeah.
potassium,
Yeah.
for
Yep.
sure, for sure.
Guys,
But
let's
that's-
come back to the
Yeah,
more to the mental aspect of it. I
Which I mean,
understand
again,
the physical.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Hamza. Like literally, I think one of the easy things that we can change it is the diet because that really affects.
Oh yeah, that's one big change that you do. Then it helps with all the other areas. Not sleeping before eating. That's a big one. I changed my life because when you eat and sleep, your body is actually not sleeping, resting. It's actually breaking down the food, so it's actually working. So by changing that, like our diet and what times we eat as well makes a big difference. So that's definitely one. I feel a big aspect of it. But I wanted to, since we have short time, I wanted to come across, just share a couple more points that I feel are worth. The one other thing, we talk about meditation, diet, changing the, exercise, physical. The other part is, coming back to, and getting clear on what you want is important. But the other part is to shift that mindset. If someone's really in that negative mindset, and I've helped a friend who was in a really bad state, gone through adversity, is to start practicing the most powerful emotion of the world, the most powerful emotion, which is gratitude.
gratitude, yeah.
Being thankful for all the things in your life. The more you appreciate, the more you'll get. If I start focusing on, oh, this keeps happening to me, oh, I'm going to get sick, I'm definitely going to get sick. But when I start appreciating things, I'm like, I appreciate our conversation. I appreciate this. So starting a gratitude journal, especially when you're in the lowest of the lowest. Like I had a friend who was, gone through a lot of setback, and I will not share the full story, but like he really in a bad state. So I asked him, why don't you start a gratitude journal? And what is a gratitude journal? It's actually just writing down every night 10 things you're grateful for. Just 10 things. And they can be anything. Could be the meal you ate, the walk you had today, the conversation you had with your partner or family member or coworker. Appreciate the things. Oh, like appreciate the way you clean the house, or appreciate that you finished all the tasks you had to do. Whatever it is. And in the beginning, it'll feel like a bit hard because like, what am I doing this for? But the key is, it's again coming back to neuroplasticity. Is the more often you
It's the dopamine.
write down, it's dopamine like releases.
Insertion. When you count your blessings, you're subjectively inserting that dopamine into your body.
Yep. And as more often you appreciate and you write down things you're grateful for, you start looking at the world with appreciative eyes all of a sudden. You're like, wow, I love this. This is amazing.
And that's when
you
the
get more excited. And that's how you shift initially, is when you shift from that, why is this all happening to me, to like, oh, I just appreciate, because everything that the world and the universe is putting in front of me is actually helping me become better. And I just look at everything as gratitude. I'm like, thank you to whenever comes, whatever situation life throws at me, I'll say thank you, because this is helping me to become a better person. But starting a gratitude journal and writing down 10 things you're grateful for is the most powerful way to shift into that mindset. Even if you don't get into meditation as much, I think as long as you just start practicing more gratitude in your life, you just have this huge shift in your whole reality.
For the record,
that was the biggest
that's
shift.
how I started. For everyone who's listening, that's exactly how I started. I started with gratitude, and then I kind of graduated to meditation.
So
Yep,
guys,
it starts with that.
guys, so before we wrap it up, I mean the whole. By the way, Jamal is in the house. Jamal, the fourth guy who wanted to
Is
be
he
part
in?
of this. Yeah, he's in, and he's commenting is like, "Hello, fam," just to show you all some love. Really wanted to be there, and he's saying thank you all for spreading #positivity. Man, Jamal, thank you very much for tuning in, man. Anyway, I'm gonna be bringing you in for another episode. I'm gonna be talking to you, alone on the session. And again, maybe we can do a second episode of this because, dude, there's it's not enough time to cover most of the stuff. We can just scratch the surface of this thing. Just give a tiny introduction to the people. But I'm sure we're gonna do this a second episode, maybe down in September. But man, let's reach to that conclusion. I mean, we have
Mm-hmm.
enough solid information now. So
Yes.
collectively, uh,
Mm-hmm.
what is the conclusion? Who wants to
Well,
go
I can
first?
start. Well, conclusion is that, life will always keep throwing challenges in front of us. Life will reject us and go through that. We can choose to be sad and disappointed by all the stuff that's happening to us, or we can choose to look at it and say, this is helping me become better. And if I change the way I look at it, change the way I react to life, whatever happens, it makes all the difference. So if you apply all these techniques, meditation, self-awareness, journaling, gratitude journal, and really taking that choice to improve yourself and become a better person, once you make that decision, you know that's the key. So nobody can change you, only you can change your own self. I can only show you the door, you have to walk through it yourself. That's there. So make that decision, but the key is to act on that decision. As you start acting on applying these things, that's what builds the momentum. As you build the momentum, there's a little bit of a learning curve, but when you build momentum, you get more excited, you start getting more dopamine releases from all the things positive that are productive for you. And as you start building that momentum, you start realizing you're getting happier and more momentum, and you get getting more of life. But you're also looking at life in more appreciative eyes, and that will bring a glow aura around you that would be actually magnetic. You become a magnetic person at that stage because you love life, and people want to know, why is this person so happy, why is this person in that state? And you start building a community that way, and it's just a endless upward spiral once you start applying that. And the key is to just make the decision that I'm going to focus on the positive and focusing on what I want, not what I don't want. So those are a few things I feel like if a person does, and I guarantee you your life will start changing.
So what about you, Ashkan?
Oh
What's your
man.
take on it?
Your question is I've probably mentioned this earlier as we talk. One of my favorite podcasters, Impact Theory, Tom Bilyeu, and at the end of every show, he asked this one question. He's like, he has brought in a roster of like all the greatest people, right? And he asked everyone that last question is like, what is the impact you want to have on this world? Like from all kind of backgrounds, and it's exactly what Hamza said. He said it in his own words. It's going to be exactly the same thing that I say. I'm going to try to say it in my words, in my own words. And because I'm the practical guy, I'm the engineer guy. I want to make it easy for people to understand, right? I want to add practicality and make sure this journey that Hamza just talked about is pragmatic and people can actually apply it to their daily lives, right? So what Hamza said is basically love is the realest thing, and that's undisputed. Love is the only real thing. You can ask this
It is.
from people who are on psychedelics and change their whole brain patterns. Like this, you can ask people who have reached enlightenment through meditation. You can ask people who have reached enlightenment through sports like MJ, whatever. See, there's different paths, right? We all talked about this whole purpose and all that. Like I said, like people have done it like through drugs that can change the pattern of your brain for good, psychedelics. And those people say love is the only real thing. Sorry, I cut off for a little bit.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, you're back.
You're
Yeah.
back.
Okay. So that they have approved it. There's doctors, they do all these experiences on mice and rats. I kind of wanted to get into it, but it would have been too scientific. Then and even on that level, and mice are the closest species to us when it comes to their brain chemistry. They figured out that love. They have done experiments to prove this, and all the mystic spirituality, their religion, everyone, they all say the same thing. Now you say love is the only real thing and all of that. Like, what is that to do? Have to do anything with a growth mindset or living a better life? So, what I want to elaborate is like, you see, like there's always that aspect of you wanting something to make you happy, right? I'm getting a bit particular, and this is because in the current situation that I am, and this is my personal side of things and how I see love being the only real thing. You see, like we are in a society that a lot of people define what is love and what's good. Because love doesn't mean only loving somebody. It's that happiness and that feeling fulfilled, satisfied. It's that knowing that you exist, right? You appreciate it. You know, that's what I call love. And people set this milestones in their lives, right? My close friends, they work their asses off. I'm not gonna be happy until I get a Lamborghini. I'm not gonna be happy until I get this, marry that, and that I'm not gonna be happy is what I call as love, right? Because that's the only real thing. Everyone has their own delusion of how they be happy and they be loved. You know, what I wanted people to kind of take away from this whole discussion is like, see, no matter your circumstances, no matter where you are and what you want, it's all in your own control, because you can create that love and that happiness yourself. You are the person who define it. Okay, you actually are. I swear to God, like the person that I am today, 2 years ago, I was like, when I even go back to things that I've read and reminders that trigger me back to who I was 2 years ago, like what I thought would be like the purpose of love and what I want, and all the whole materialism and all that things, all that shit that was fed into my brain, and all that expectations and all that stuff, they were all obstacles for me to reach there, right? But what I realized is all that is built into your own belief system. And for me, I think you are the one who create that belief system, and don't let other belief system take away the love that you can create for yourself. You can create that journey, that meaning, that purpose for yourself. Okay? And as human beings, we don't need to be Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, or I don't know, like Michael Jackson or whatever, whoever you want to, or a soccer player. You just got to be a human. And it's hard to be a human. It's funny, human being in its sense of life means human being. You just got to be a human. Like, I appreciate people who don't have money, who don't have anything, but they're just good humans.
Yeah, they have compassion.
They are like they are people who have this greater conscious that they have attained, and they all say the same thing. You got to be a good human. You got to love each other. Okay, we have all these different things that's stopping us. We have all this we are in such a difficult situation that we are 90% of the time in the victim side of things, and we can never be a full-fledged human beings in our full potential to love and be in that kind of state, because it's hard to make that shift. And my impact on this world is like, I just want to inspire just one person, like not even, I just want to inspire myself first to be able to make that shift, to let go of all that garbage that I followed, all that rules, all that conditioning I had in my brain to be successful and to be loved and validated and fit in. I just want to I want to be able to create that love and happiness myself, but everyone else is dictating life, you know? So the bottom line in a nutshell, it's just, I want to inspire people to be able to control their own life and destiny and be independent of the external factors, because you can do it. It's all within you. Don't look for outside for answers. It's been scientifically proved. I've done the science research. I'm transitioning into the mystic side of things, because they say the same thing a lot simpler than science. And there are tools. You can use the tools to do it. You can meditate, do all these things, but don't be lazy not to do it. Don't stay in comfort zone. There is you don't want to live a life of regret, and you want to do it now. And I would urge everyone to start questioning.
Well, it's a very good time. I mean, this whole
Great
lockdown.
point.
Yeah, it's a very good timing for all these things, because this pandemic, as we say, it's a blessing in disguise. It changed us. It changed me. It helped me to start this podcast, this live stream sessions. It obviously changed you guys in your own way. But it just depends on how you make that format and that exercise to reach to it. It's just, I think that's the struggle over there. that you have to sit
That
down.
decision.
Yeah, that decision. As again, it all comes down to the power of will. If you're strong enough, you say,
There's something, Ahmed, sorry to interrupt. It's called, it's so funny. I want to say it. People should hear it. It's called assiduity, and Ty
uh,
Lopez uses that. It's like it's your due diligence of sitting your ass down and putting in the work.
mm,
People don't do it. It doesn't come easy. It's not law of attraction. You gotta put in the work. It's friction. It's resilience. You gotta put in the work, guys. You can't just listen to podcasts, just journal, just meditate.
You have to
You
take
gotta put in
action.
the work.
Yeah,
You have
act
to.
on it.
it's
Exactly.
always it's always
Yeah.
easier than done. You know,
Yeah,
it's
totally.
For sure. And me myself, I'm just speaking from my point of view. I am by no means here saying, guys, I figured it out. I haven't even started my journey.
we're still
Like,
we're
I
still
feel
like
like
discussing it. That's the beauty of it. Like we
I
understand it
feel like
somehow.
there's so much that you need to, and because a lot of people see it as a setback. Oh, these guys, they like, I don't know. I used to see people like, oh my God, these guys did ayahuasca. They have had shrooms experience. Their brains have changed. They have seen things that I couldn't see because where I grew up, those means were not available. I come from, no, that's one avenue. There are so many avenues.
Yeah,
My whole
leading
thing
to
is
that
like,
same space.
exactly. My whole thing is, and don't feel like you don't see those things as setbacks. Start, but it needs work. Mushroom and psychedelics are a shortcut, but it's not what people.
It's not the only
recommend.
way.
It's
It's
it could
cutting
be temporary.
corners.
Exactly, cutting corners. But when you put in the work, when you wake up at your 5 a.m., when you go through those stuff, when you do your meditation, when you strengthen your brain, when you eat well, when you have a diet, when you all do all it, it's a balance. It's this fine balance of everything. And that's when I think people can feel the love and they can say they're truly actually happy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
so true. The most important thing out of all of that, if one person can implement right now, right this moment, is to love themselves, self-love.
Yeah,
And you
man.
can,
Yeah,
and that requires self-compassion on those moments when we're being hard on ourselves. That's it.
That's
Just
yeah.
bring self-compassion. Don't be hard on yourselves. You are enough. And just
Yes,
that's
sir.
the most important feeling. And if you can implement that, that's where everything else starts.
Man, guys, to wrap it up, man, where they can find you guys on social media.
Yep, they can find me on Instagram. It's Hamza989, or feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well. I'm pretty active there, and that's more on the recruitment and career coaching side. So yeah, feel free to reach out there as well. It's Hamza Hassan.
What about you, Ashkan?
Well, Hamza is a bit more established in terms of resources and being connected to. I have my personal Instagram page, which is very personal. So if you want to have some of these good talks, you're probably not going to find it there. But it's funny. So I'm actually like I have my career and my job, and that's going well, and I'm trying to do something that's that I'm very passionate about. It was it was an interesting time of my life when I met my girlfriend, and it was she was spiritual too. And we started this whole thing called 1111, and there's a whole story behind it. It's a wellness brand. I'm finishing the online store. We're gonna go live on September 4th. It's actually in less than 2 weeks.
Cool.
Nice.
So I'm gonna just for the people who wanna like kind of follow, but I have nothing interesting going on, to be honest. But what we're gonna do on that website is I'm gonna write a lot of blogs, and they can see the blogs there. And also the main purpose of that whole thing is the website. We're gonna start selling healing crystals. And so yeah, my girlfriend was very passionate about it, and me being like the techie guy, I'm like, okay, if we can get this going as a business off the ground, and we can like actually monetize it, and while doing so change people's lives, right? Healing crystals, it was a big thing for the transition that my girlfriend did in her life. She meditates with crystals and all that. I don't. That's because the technique that I do prohibits all those kind of things. But it's something that we can spread our message through, and So we figured out if we start, selling crystals and do so, and that's something I'm passionate
Nice.
about.
I
I might
collect
not.
crystals, so that's awesome.
You do? Oh, there you go.
So-
I got my first customer.
So
And
that's
rocks
good, man. I
and
mean,
ores.
you guys send me the links after we're off air, so I'm gonna put them in the caption.
Yeah,
where,
so
where they
there's an
can find you.
Instagram page. There's an Instagram page for the store itself, and we have an Instagram store. Also, there's a community page where we already have a bunch of people. Like we do, these are more like ritual, like sage burning crystals and meditation technique. People talk about it, so I can give you those stuff. People if they are interested. That's very specific to certain people that who really like crystals. So if there's anyone interested, it's a good source to dig into.
For sure, man.
Fair.
Guys, thank you very much for joining me on this session, man. I had a blast talking about it. Actually opened my eye to a lot of things, even by the conversation we had last night. It was just crazy. It's just so crazy that you can't just simplify it, and you cannot put it all in one package and give it away. It actually needs to be dissected, and you need to really go in depth of the whole detail to understand what's happening. And it takes that power of will that you gonna stick
And
around.
curiosity.
Yes, you need to be curious enough to find out what's best for you, what's better for you, through eating healthier, doing exercising your brain, all these good stuff. So guys, thank you very much for joining me, and I had a blast talking to you guys, man. And I hope to, we definitely gonna do a second episode, man. Are you guys up for it? Yeah, you guys are up for it.
Oh, for sure. I really enjoyed our talk. So thank you so much for having us.
No worries, man.
It was a blessing. It was a blessing. Hamzat, like I always say, things happen for a reason. That's that's the most spiritual thing that my parents taught me. Like I think it's embedded in every culture and belief in religion, and I think it's one of those laws of the universe that really works. There are a lot of decisions we make, but just things happen for a reason, and it was such a good connection that I made with Hamza through you. And then I wish Jamal was here too, because I know he could add a lot of flavor
man.
to everything we say. Practical, pure, no concept, no science. Real life
Dude.
experiences.
Next episode, I don't care. I really don't care. We need to really plan it out. I want Jamal on board. Jamal is crazy, and actually he's commenting. Thank you guys for sharing. And Gomez is he actually commented. I forgot to read it. Thank you for sharing your experiences, knowledge, and expertise. It really had helped me. Man, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you very much for tuning in, guys. Let them know about the page. Let them know about this community. We're going to be, digging into different content, different topics, which one of them is this, which Table for Four's concept is this, that, we bring new things on the table, which, it's kind of not being talked about a lot. As even Hamza mentioned, it's not talked about it on the media. It's very tiny bit, someone talks about it here, and then they overshadow it with other things. So the main concept I'm trying to do, the main focus point, is that to bring and shed more lights on these points that actually can benefit, it has beneficial outcomes for us in our life. So guys, again, thank you very much, man. Stick around and give me your links and all the, if you have any YouTube video or any specific app that you can actually encourage people using. So please feel free. And again, thank you guys for tuning in. Please let them know about this page. And any final words, guys?
Just love yourself, guys.
Love yourself, guys.
I want to say something. You said this is a concept that media doesn't cover. I want to say, I wish they taught us meditation in school. And it's funny, they're doing it right now in Canada. They just implemented last year, and they're teaching kids, even though it's online, they let them meditate. Obviously, kids cannot meditate. They're just gonna fool around. But last word, I wish they taught us meditation in school. It's way better than the biology, math, and algebra and all that garbage that we learned. So, our education system is it's ancient. So I hope that changes one day.
Yep.
Anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining me for this session. And
Thanks a lot.
And I'll see you guys on the flip side.
All right, man.
Take care, guys. Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Thanks for listening.
Take care. Bye. Bye.